At this point, we've just about completed the upgrade process going from Drupal 6 to Drupal 7. We've made sure that all of our content made the jump, all of our custom content types and fields have made the jump. We just finished all of our contributed modules and getting rid of the ones that we don't need anymore. Now we need to do a little bit of poking around on the site to see what isn't working quite how we want it to. We see that our home and about links are available in our main menu. Our about page goes to our actual about page. Our home page works just fine as well. If we hover over any of our links, we look at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, we see that our URL aliases are also still in place. Just to check, let's go to Configuration, Search and Metadata, and URL aliases, then Patterns. This is the functionality that PathAuto gives us. And we do see some errors here. All of our content here is set to use title raw. After the word content, articles go articles/title raw. And if we look at the errors here, we see that the pattern for all article paths, for instance, cannot contain fewer than one token. A token is this, you could call it a variable in brackets that spits out the title of the page. This implies that we have fewer than one token, which means this must not be a token. That must not be the syntax that PathAuto uses anymore to print out the title of the article in this part of the URL. So let's go down and investigate this. We're going to look at replacement patterns and see just what's going on. Again, we're using the title in all of these. So if we go to nodes, which is what the title belongs to, go to title, we see that the token has changed to refer to the title of the node. The token is now in brackets, node:title, whereas up here it was title-raw. So that's an easy change, albeit it is one that we have to do manually. It would have been nice if this was automatically updated during the update process, but it's not that big of a deal. So let's go ahead and change these so that our automated alias settings work the way we want them to, and in fact, so that they work all together. And those should be just fine now. We're going to want to look at our other patterns. We can assume that since these were wrong up here, there may be something wrong with these, and we can also go back and look at the errors we received. We see we have an error message related to vocabularies and one for user account page paths. That's what we have down here. So let's find the replacement patterns for taxonomy terms. This one goes category, then apparently the name of the vocabulary, and then the actual path, presumably to the term. So let's go and find something that looks like vocabulary, and here we have vocabulary. We're going to use term:vocabulary instead of vocab-raw. And then under taxonomy terms, we'll get the term name, which we can assume is probably what catpath raw is. Likely you would expect if it's a page for taxonomy terms, it's going to be category / the name of the vocabulary / the name of the term. Again, we see that in the replacement patterns under taxonomy terms, name. Term:"name." And then let's scroll down here and look at our user paths. User raw, that's apparently not how it's done anymore. We can assume that this is supposed to be users / the user's name. So let's click on users under the replacement patterns. And name we see here is predictably user:"name. So even though our URL aliases were saved on existing content, the replacement patterns moving forward were not quite in the format that PathAuto wanted them to be. We've changed those, so let's save our configuration. We have no errors anymore, so everything should be just fine here now. Now let's go take a look at our content types very quickly. We go to our content types, we have articles, events, event previews, pages, and panels is kind of its own different thing. We're not going to worry about that right this moment. Let's look at our articles. Let's check out our fields, see if everything pretty much looks right here. And I believe it does. We're not getting any errors. Everything in the field type and widget looks fine. Let's go to manage the display next to make sure there's nothing weird going on with the display. And there doesn't seem to be. Let's go click on an article very quickly though, just to make sure it looks the way we expect it to. Here's an article, Why Concerts Are Fun. And here we have the body of the article. The image is not quite working, however, so we'll want to take a look at that. The category, opinion, has been saved. And if you notice, our comments have been saved as well. Let's go check out what's going on with image. We go back to structure and content types, article, and manage display, because it's the display that seems to be wrong. If we back up for a second and go to edit the page, we'll see that the image indeed still exists here. And we also saw that on the home page because the image is being displayed. But for some reason it's not being displayed on the actual node page. So we're going to go to structure, content types, article, manage display. We see that still everything looks the way we would expect it here. We click on format. Sometimes all it takes is to kind of hide it and get it out of the way and save it, and then put it back where you want it to. Then if we go back and view the node, there's our image. It's come back. We just sort of had to remind the system that, yeah, there's supposed to be an image there. Little things like that will often happen with site upgrades. And of course, if we want to move the image around, we'll go back to manage the display and place the image above the body. And then we'll go back, view it again. And there it is, just how we want. Image, body, category. Perfect. Let's take a look at our other content types. If we go to content, this will give us a quick overview of all the content on the type. We've already checked out our page. Let's look at an event now. DrupalCon. Everything here looks good to me. We have our date, we have our location, and we have the body right here. If we go very quickly to structure, content types, event, manage fields, we see that title, date, location, body are the only fields we have. If we look at manage display, we have date, location, body in the exact order. Everything here is working exactly as we want. If we go back to our content one more time, we see that our last content type was event preview. Let's take a look at one of these. And here we see the body. We don't see anything else. If we go to the structure of this content type, event preview, manage fields, we see that there is supposed to be a node reference for the field event. And in fact, this was working shortly after we upgraded the site, but apparently it's not there now. There doesn't seem to be anything wrong with the field. If we go look at the display, we do see something that looks a little bit suspicious here. We see original image and a gear icon, supposedly for image settings. However, when we clicked on that, it kind of went away, like Drupal realized, oh, this isn't actually supposed to be here. If we click on format, let's go ahead and just hide this. We're going to hide this again, just like we did with the image field on our articles. And again, this is just sort of a friendly little reminder. We're sort of pointing to it, and as Drupal's looking at it, it's seeing I wasn't handling that quite right. Usually, that's enough of a reminder to tell Drupal the proper way to handle it, or to remind Drupal how to handle the title that is linked in the event field. Let's go ahead and put a label here so we can clearly see if the event comes back after doing this little bit of playing around with it. We'll save our settings once again. And now if we go back to our content and we look at our event preview again, we'll see that the events field is back. Event DrupalCon. This is a node reference to the actual DrupalCon event page. Again, this is just an event preview page, two different content types. This is supposed to link to the DrupalCon event page. If we click on it, we see that's exactly where it links to. So these little things will come up. In the grand scheme of upgrading an entire site to a whole new version of Drupal, they're really not that big of a deal, but you do have to be very careful and take a look at everything, and sometimes just play around with it so that Drupal will remember how to handle the information.